This video presentation is used as fair use as a disclaimer for educational purpose only. All instrumental music is used as fair use for educational purpose only as a disclaimer.
Yesterday I was interviewed on Fox Business Channel there, and one of the things I was asked about was reparations, and that the United Nations has decided that America owed black people reparations. So I was asked, what did I think about that? I said, no way. Black people not owe anything. It's time for them to start doing for themselves. George Floyd, you know, that unemployed drug addict with a criminal record?
Sure.
Were you surprised when the blacks blamed the cops rather than blaming the unemployed drug addict for his death? Were you surprised when the blacks did that?
Do you believe? No, I don't see a problem with it. I'm answering your question first.
Were you surprised when
hold on
the
really
blacks
quickly.
pretended that it was the cops' problem instead of, the cops' fault that George Floyd is dead, when George Floyd was an unemployed drug addict with a criminal record?
So do you
Were
think?
you surprised at the blacks' reaction to that?
Well, do you think that an unemployed drug addict? Do you think that because he was unemployed and addicted to drugs, which I'm not even sure he was addicted to drugs, but whatever, but do you think because he was unemployed, and let's assume addicted to drugs, that somehow in and of itself resulted in the compression on his neck that denied his brain
You
oxygen?
didn't answer my question.
I am answering it.
No, I asked you a question. I asked you, were you surprised at the reaction of the blacks when the unemployed drug addict with the criminal record?
Jeez. Man, you really hate yourself in some ways, but it's sure. So no, I'm not surprised.
Were you surprised that the blacks blamed the cop and not the addict?
Yes, family. That was House Negro Jesse Lee Peterson. I don't know if you're familiar with this brother. He's from out of Alabama. He's someone that the white conservatives are backing to push their agenda. See, they use these space cadets. I call them space cadets. Whitewashed Negroes who are programmed. This is a programmed Negro. I told y'all I was coming for this raccoon. Reparations? This is a Christian. Reparations for black people, for what we went through, our ancestors been through. You are a black man and you don't understand? This is a retarded black man. How is it that this dude have a following? How is it that these dudes have a backing of any black sane person? We already know that white people are pushing Jesse Lee Peterson. To disrespect George Floyd because someone may be an addict. Let's say he was an addict. George Floyd, do he deserve to die of that magnitude? That was very harsh the way that brother died. He suffered. And you can't understand that? I told y'all, Christianity blinds black people. This is a Christian. Check this out. Let's see how further this fool acts out. I want you to see this clip.
The families, right? We were talking about like
Did you
black
have
families.
a father and mother in your home? Were you
Yes.
raised by two parents?
Yeah.
Do you think life would have been different for you had you not been raised by two parents?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. So if blacks were to get married, stop having 77% of the children
let's
out
ask-
of wedlock,
Yeah.
would they have a better life?
Okay. Answer this though.
Would
Why?
they have a better life
But
first?
why?
I
Yes, they
asked
would. Why?
Why what?
Why are black people having 77% of African American children are born out of
77% of
wedlock?
black
Why?
children are born to black women who are citizens of the country because
Why?
they have no morals.
What? They have no morals?
Yeah.
That's a interesting accusation. Is there any data to back up that claim?
I don't need data. I just need my eyes.
Okay, all
They
right.
have
So
no
you have
more.
your feelings. You
Because
have your
in the-
feels
no, not
over
feelings.
reals.
No. When I was growing up, black men and women got married. That made a difference. They worked hard. That made a difference. They didn't get free stuff from the government.
Are you familiar with
that
what anecdotal evidence is?
And they didn't have affirmative action based on color.
Are you familiar with anecdotal evidence?
What does that mean?
It's an anecdote. It's your personal experience. So
No,
it's
not my
clouded by your implicit biases.
No, it's not. No, that was the. Do you believe that black people were ever a moral people?
What?
Do you believe that they had morals at one time?
I think black people have morals right now as well.
Is it immoral to have babies out of wedlock?
No.
It's not?
I don't think it's immoral.
Is it immoral to have abortions?
No. No, I'm pro-abortion.
So you don't know what morals are. Where do you get your values?
Wait, I think
are you
your
a Christian?
morals. Are you a
Christian?
Are you a moral realist? Do you think that there is a set of? I mean, I guess you are because you're Christian, right?
Yes, I am.
You have a.
Do you
not think that black people played a significant role? Do you not think that African Americans played a significant role in building this country?
No.
How could you? Whoa, okay. All right, well, do you think white people are better than black people? Let's just get right to it. Do you think white people are better than black people?
Better in the sense that...
What, better in what sense?
I'm about to tell you. That they create and black people destroy.
Holy crap. How could you... Whoa, okay. All right, well, do you think white people are better than black people? Let's just get right to it. Do you think white people are better than black people?
Better in the sense that...
What, better in what sense?
I'm about to tell you. That they create and black people destroy.
Holy crap, dude. Oh my God, you have black employees. How do they sit here and listen to you peddle this garbage?
Because the last thing a white person wants to be seen or known as is a racist, which doesn't exist. And so they made that word up in order to control the whites and take their jobs away from them, their businesses and all that, because blacks are not capable of doing it themselves. And so they use that word in order to get free stuff. In reality, it's either right or wrong, good or evil. And all people who have not been born again of God are evil. And those who have been born of God, the Spirit of God, are good. And so the warfare is going on between the spirit of good and evil, not color.
Yeah, I definitely do believe in that in a spiritual standpoint because I am a Christian myself, so I definitely do believe in that.
Yes.
However, it's just very eerie to me to believe that...
Come back to your phone and let you went away from your phone a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hold on 1 second? Let me put my earpods back on. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. My reception is horrible.
Okay.
Okay, so I just find it very... perplexing, actually, just to believe that you do not believe that racism exists in America, considering the fact that you did grow up in the South. I'm presuming that you grew up in Alabama, correct?
I grew up in Alabama. I grew up under the Jim Crow laws. And prior to the dumb civil rights movement, which should have never happened, there was no such word being used as racism. The blacks and the whites knew it was about right or wrong, good or evil. But I'm not African, though. I don't feel like an African. I don't think like an African. I don't look like an African. I am 100%. I'm 100% American. Why is it that black men, such as yourself, don't feel embarrassed publicly complaining about white men and how they hold you back? You got all these excuses. Normal men don't have excuses.
That's funny, normal men. I would love to hear the explanation of normal men.
Why is it that black men, such as yourself, don't feel embarrassed publicly complaining about white men and how they hold you back? You got all these excuses. Normal men don't have excuses.
That's funny, normal men. I would love to hear the explanation of normal men.
Men who are not like women.
See, Jesse Lee Peterson, to him, black people are immoral and white people have been honest for the last 400 years. See, that Christianity blinds you to reality. You are oblivious. Your Christianity make you oblivious because it's a rotten religion. It's a rotten religion from the beginning. And I'm going to show you. How is it that he's interviewing this white guy? This white guy's like, he's perplexed about the whole situation. He asked this chump, the white man asked this chump, do he think white people better than black people? And that chump said, yes, he do. Because black people are immoral. Wow. So white folks have been saints dealing with black people for the last 400 years. For the last 4 centuries. Up until our present day, where black people are still being killed by the police. But that's complaining. You know, any black man that speaks out, this dude called people a beta male. See, when you get into Christianity, it switches everything around. It makes the black man the beta male when he doesn't stand up for his people. You are a beta male when you follow behind the white man. But I know why you follow behind the white man. You really in love with the white man. You in love with the white Jesus flesh. You in love with the white Jesus flesh. You have a fetish for white meat. And I'm going to expose you as we go on. I got clip for clip. Let's check this clip out.
Because the last thing a white person wants to be seen or known as is a racist, which doesn't exist. And so they made that word up in order to control the whites and take their jobs away from them, their businesses and all that, because blacks are not capable of doing it themselves. And so they use that word in order to get free stuff. In reality, it's either right or wrong, good or evil. And all people who have not been born again of God are evil. And those who have been born of God, the Spirit of God, are good. And so the warfare is going on between the spirit of good and evil, not color.
Yeah, I definitely do believe in that in a spiritual standpoint because I am a Christian myself, so I definitely do believe in that.
Yes.
However, it's just very eerie to me to believe that...
Come back to your phone a little bit, like you went away from your phone a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hold on 1 second? Let me put my earpods back on. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, my reception is horrible.
Okay.
Okay, so I just find it very perplexing, actually, just to believe that you do not believe that racism exists in America, considering the fact that you did grow up in the South. I'm presuming that you grew up in Alabama, correct?
I grew up in Alabama. I grew up under the Jim Crow laws. And prior to the dumb civil rights movement, which should have never happened, there was no such word being used as racism. The blacks and the whites knew it was about right or wrong, good or evil. But I'm not African, though. I don't feel like an African. I don't think like an African. I don't look like an African. I am 100%. I'm 100% American.
Yes, indeed, black family. You know when you got a space cadet on hand. When you hear a black person speak like that against his own people, that chump is a retard. I don't care how much money that white people back these space cadets like Tim Scott, Kansas Owens, Charles Barkley, any of these weird space cadet ass Negroes who hate self. Something's wrong with them niggas. I hope black people, I hope y'all not looking up to these people as educational. Jesse Lee Peterson, crazy as Jesse Lee Peterson is, he has 3 books out. He got 3 books out. One of them is called From Rage, The Antidote, and The Scam. He trying to say the scam, their book is about black prominent leaders who trying to get something for us. He called those race hustlers. This is a black man speaking the way he speak. How in the hell this black man grows up in Alabama and racism don't exist? You know he a fraud. You know he's a fraud. And you know what else, fam? I'm gonna let it out the bag. Because I've watched him call black men beta male who take on the soldier warrior mentality to speak out for our people. He'd switch it around and call it beta male activity. But Jesse Lee Peterson is the biggest beta male on the planet. How is it that you go against your own people, a black man who worship that white flesh? Something is sickening about this. I don't care how many prominent, prestigious white folks, so-called prestigious white folks, money is allocated to Jesse Lee Peter's cause to be a motherfucking fool. That's a fool. That motherfucker retarded. Racism don't exist, and he grew up in Alabama on a plantation. He said his family is on the plantation. Did his foreparents get that from the Peterson slave plantation? Was his slave master involved with the plantation that he said he lived on? He lived on the plantation. Was a slave master okay enough, I guess nice enough you could say, to leave the Petersons a piece of property? Because he brags about growing up on the plantation. Check this video out. This gonna blow your mind away. Who's the real beta male? Like I say, Christianity was built on homosexuality. The homosexuals put Christianity in fruition from Rome. If you don't believe me, I'm not capping. Do your research. That's why they call it the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. They oust the woman when it's supposed to be the man plus woman equal child, the real Trinity. The Father, Son, The Father and Son gave Roman Greco religion. And this is why Jesse Peterson calls everybody else a beta male, because in the religion of Christianity, in the Roman Greco belief, he is the alpha male, is the one who fucks the man in the ass. Yes. Check this video out. Check it out. We exposing a coon tonight. Boom.
A home in them, and it came from them overreacting to some sort of a situation in life, whether it's from someone messing with them when they were kids, or overreacting to an angry mother, because you become like what you hate.
But shortly after the March interview, friends of his came to us with a different story. These stories first came to light when Jesse's former co-host and alleged decade-long gay lover exposed him. 61-year-old Patrick Rooney has known Jesse for nearly 30 years, dating back to roughly 1992.
Everybody know Patrick Rooney, one of the smartest white men on this side of heaven.
The two were so close that Jesse was the minister at his wedding and the pastor at his baptism, long before Rooney claimed any homosexual activities began.
Right around that time, I also had started a TV show. I was doing a public access TV show in LA, and with a friend of mine who had gotten off heroin and wanted to, he asked me to be involved in the show to help other people get off drugs and things like that. So we started a show, and one of our first guests was Jesse and another gentleman from Bond. So we did a couple shows with them. And from that time forward, right after the show happened, Jesse and I talked in the green room, backstage. And right off the bat, he started asking me stuff. Jesse's very forward with his questioning and things like that. So he actually asked me right after that show, are you gay?
Rooney's characterization shows that Jesse allegedly used similar grooming tactics as other homo predators, like Saginaw priest Father Robert DeLand, who asked similar questions when preying on a young man in 2017.
To discover that you have some gay tendencies is a fine thing, because then you don't have to be so confused.
Right.
Do you feel less confused?
Yeah.
After Jesse discovered Rooney's same-sex attraction, his relationship with Jesse was taken to the next level. Bit by bit, Jesse began edging him closer and closer to sin.
Once he moved up there to do the show, we stayed in the same house. Jesse would kind of do some things, kind of horseplay and stuff like that with me. And at times he would do stuff where he would like grab me and then we'd kind of wrestle around a little bit. And then I'd feel his, private parts against me. And he did that more than once. So it wasn't like an accidental thing. He would kind of do it. And then I even mentioned it like, what's that or whatever. And he would kind of play around and joke about it.
Fast forward to 2005, and Jesse was ready to make his final move.
We did a conference with them called Moral Reconstruction, which is kind of ironic now that we're sitting here talking about something else. It's called Moral Reconstruction. We did that. That first conference was, I believe, in 2005. And we did a follow-up conference in 2006 with them as well. And I went with Jesse to Washington, D.C. For this conference. I was a fundraiser at the time. And so we did fundraising. I was part of the conference. While we were at the conference, we stayed in Virginia, near D.C. So we were sitting on the bed together, and all of a sudden he turned to me, just looked at me, and he said, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" And he said it in a tone that was really insistent. And I'd never seen this tone from him before. It was like kind of scary. It kind of scared me. Like what? What do you want to do? I knew what he meant, and then I told him, okay. And at first I'm scared, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing along here. It kind of threw me off my game, I guess, in a way. I think later I realized that's kind of something that people do sometimes. It's like the devil works in a certain way by intimidating you, and it throws you off your normal game. And so he said, "What do you want to do?" And he was like, "Okay, I'm scared." And then I told him what I want to do. I mentioned sex acts, that he knew about, that I had already talked to him about, that I was interested in. And next thing you know, he's ripping his clothes off and coming at me, basically. And I did the same, took my clothes off. And next thing you know, we're fully at it, having, not getting into detail here, but basically full-on sexual acts.
Rooney's recollections show that Jesse mirrored DeLand's sexual advances almost identically.
I love you. Love you too. I know. What are we gonna do? I don't know. No, what are we gonna do, really?
Rooney's description shows that after their sexual encounter, Jesse began intertwining his private homosexualism with blasphemy.
After we had just done this first sexual act, and then ever since then, he told me that once we did this, I was born again. This sounds crazy, but this is the absolute truth. He said that I was born again. He would remind me of that through the years.
Following being born again, Rooney contends that his sodomitic relationship with Peterson went on for roughly 10 years, until Rooney decided to come clean to his wife and son.
My son was really angry. My son was mostly angry at me, because he had Jesse on such a pedestal. My son had Jesse on such a pedestal, he literally thought Jesse could walk on water. We got on a phone call, we talked to Jesse, and as soon as we brought it up with my son on the phone call, Jesse denied it. And I said, "Jesse, you're a liar. You're lying. You know you're lying." And he finally came out and admitted to my son that he did that.
Rooney later moved to Florida to get away from Jesse. But according to Rooney, Jesse couldn't handle the relationship ending, offering him several bribes to get him back to LA. It's typical for homo predators to try and cover their tracks using a cornucopia of strategies to shut people up. In the case of Father DeLand, it was now deceased Saginaw Bishop Joseph Sistone, who remained silent on DeLand's abuse for years. While serving as an auxiliary bishop in Philadelphia in 1994, Sistone allegedly watched as documents containing names of up to 64 suspected sex abusers were shredded, earning him the nickname Bishop Shredder among the U.S. bishops. According to Rooney, for Jesse, and those loyal to him, the strategy was to bully and silence all victims and witnesses speaking up.
Jesse did throw me under the bus, basically, and other people that did anything like that, and still does. If anybody comes up with it, they'll keep anybody off the air.
You're talking about other victims?
Well, yeah, other victims. And he'll make sure that if anybody talks about these things, calls up his show or does anything like that, they were not going to get through on his show.
Patrick explained how easy it was for Jesse to discredit victims, given Bond's history of seeking out troubled young men.
A lot of the people that Jesse brings around him are troubled young men, right? Have drug problems, right? Some of them been in jail. So it's pretty easy to discredit a guy who's been on drugs, maybe in jail or something like that. It's pretty rotten thing to do.
Beginning last November, Rooney began writing a collection of blog posts hinting at Jesse's predation, leading him to a shocking discovery.
After I published these articles, I found out from a young man, a very credible young man, that Jesse was fooling around with this young man.
That young man was 30-year-old Samuel Arambula, a more recent member of Bond and Jesse's latest known purported victim.
I started going to Bond around May 2020. This was during the coronavirus lockdowns, everything. As soon as they opened back, they were doing live broadcasted, no in-person church for like 2 months or 2 weeks or something like that. But as soon as it opened up, I went. That was May 2020. Jesse, what he likes to do in the church is he goes around first-timers. He goes around first-timers and says, introduce yourself, what's your name, you know, how'd you find us, where are you here? The first thing I said, my name is Samuel, and I'm here because, you know, you helped me a lot. I went and forgave my mom, I went and forgave my dad, I had a lot of anger, and I just dropped that, and I feel way better now. I'm really, you know, growing, and I want to thank you for it.
Among him are 3 other alleged witnesses and victims who also chose to tell their stories. Samuel began his relationship with Jesse professionally, washing cars for him and doing other cleaning work at what they call the Bond House. The Bond House is where Jesse and several of his male staff currently live. And when Samuel began opening up to Jesse about his past, things got personal.
I was molested as a boy, so I was like, Jesse, what do I do? Like, this is weighing heavy on me. What should I do? He said, forgive him, it's in the past. Our relationship progressed slowly closer and closer. I didn't suspect anything weird of it. There were certain times where he began hugging me where I was like, whoa, I've never been hugged by a man. Like, what was this? But I was like, this is, I get, he would just tell me like, you know, I just love you. So I'm like, okay, I get you, you know, I love you too.
But, much like with Patrick Rooney, Samuel states things went from casually close to mortally sinful.
So a Friday afternoon, evening, I go to Jesse's house and I am sitting in his couch, relaxing, you know, I'm kind of avoiding the LA traffic at the peak hour. So it's a good deal, and I get to stay somewhere with someone that I respect, friend. So then by this point, we're already real comfortable with like hugging and all that stuff, you know, just hugging for long periods of time. I thought nothing weird of it. I guess my guard had already been let down completely. So I'm sitting on this couch, he kneels down in front of me, and then he wraps himself around, his arms around my waist. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I'm like, Jesse, why are you doing that? He's like, I just love you so much. And I'm like, okay, I guess. I was just like this. So then he starts rubbing my thighs, and I'm like, okay, what is he doing? Like, it's kind of crazy. And then he starts rubbing my genital area, and I'm like, what's happening right now? And then he pulls down my pants, and then I'm like, I'm shocked. I'm not saying anything. I'm like, my face is like, whoa, what the hell is happening right now?
From there, Jesse instructed Samuel to go into his so-called meditation called the silent prayer.
And he's like, doubt all thoughts are lies. Everything Satan is telling you is a lie. And I'm like, okay, but inside it's telling me, hey, this is not good. What are you doing? What are you allowing him to do?
Samuel describes Jesse abusing the supposed meditative state, trying to convince Samuel to ignore the traumatic sexual experience occurring.
It went on for a few minutes. He would get up, walk away. I could hear him, I couldn't see him. Get up, he would get up, walk away. I could hear him get up, walk away, touch it, get up, walk away, touch it. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So then I opened my eyes, and then I'm like, what just happened?
Another alleged victim was Trayvon Chapman, who in 2015 told his friend now 43-year-old Armand Martikian, that Jesse molested him.
Well, the first thing came out of his mouth, that Jesse's homosexual. And I say, you know, he can't be saying this, you know, like he's all against it. He's a, you know, straight conservative man who, you know, this is like, what you're saying is bizarre, you know, doesn't make sense. But at the same time, it kind of struck me as a truth. What this guy was saying, he was explaining the incidents, like certain acts that they would do. They had some nicknames. Jesse had nicknames for it, you know. Say, instead of telling what the act is, he named it oral massage, according to Trayvon.
Armand tried to tell Jesse what Trayvon said, and he just dismissed it.
I went to Jesse. I said, Jesse, I bumped into Trayvon, and he was talking bad things about you. The moment I said that, his first response was, oh, he's on drugs. When he said he's on drugs, shivers went down my spine, like, uh-oh, aren't you gonna ask what he said about me?
Trayvon has since disappeared. None of the men have any idea of his current whereabouts, though they assume he's still somewhere in LA. After this encounter, Armand began questioning his own relationship with Jesse.
And then I had a flashback. Back in the day, it was such an insignificant thing that it never stayed in my memory, but for some reason, the flashback had when I was in the private counseling, he kind of gestured me, let me see down there, pointing at my, referring to my, you know, down there as in my privates. Not knowing what was about, I'm at very late teens at that moment, you know, like kind of got tricked into it, pulled my pants forward where he kind of looked at it, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, maybe he's trying to see if I'm shy, he's trying to help me overcome shyness, because I was a little shy, you know? I didn't know what to make of it. I remember saying, if somebody sees us from outside, they're gonna think we're gay, I said. Later, I looked back, thought that the fact that I said, if somebody sees us, they're gonna think we're gay, he kind of probably thought that, okay, he's too aware, I'm not gonna advance any longer.
Former Bond House manager, 50-year-old Robert Santner, alleges he witnessed similarly strange behavior in 2021 between Jesse and current Bond producer James Hake.
What I witnessed, him and Jesse were hugging each other intensely, rubbing each other's shoulder down stuff, and he came to a point where I actually saw him kissing him on the cheek and stuff on the hallway, and talking all kinds. I can't remember what the words he said, but there were a lot of giggling in the hallway in his James room. And then there was even one time that just really shocked the living hell out of me, is I went to the laundry room stuff. I mean, after I took the laundry out, and then when I got out, and there was a door open in Jesse's room, and there I saw Jesse was sitting in the bed, and while James Hake was wrapped around bed sheets, completely around like a burrito with his head sticking out. And Jesse was like embracing him and hugging him and stuff, and then kissing him on the forehead. And I was like, hey, are you all right?
Hake, to this day, is an ardent defender of Jesse and his ministry, essentially helping him ostracize all the men accusing Jesse of homopredation. Santner also described an incident where Jesse attempted grooming him to see if he was a homosexual.
Like there was one night, okay, I was all by myself. It was like late at night after I came home from work. I was in the kitchen, you know, doing my own thing and stuff. And then suddenly there was Jesse appeared on the doorway, leaning against the doorway with his hand underneath his underpants. And he was like slowly massaging himself and was giving me a look, and I turned around and says, "What the heck are you doing?" And he was like giving me a smile and giggle and stuff, and then walked away.
Another witness is Martin Francis, who's largely been leading the charge against Jesse's purported homopredation. He describes himself as one of Jesse's best friends. You may recognize Francis from a video with Jesse arguing with a Univision reporter at a Prop 187 rally in Los Angeles in 1996, a rally opposing the flood of illegal aliens entering the state.
Are you all right?
Are you okay? Oh, I'm feeling better than ever.
Are you all right?
Yes, I'm all right.
Are you racist?
Am I what?
What are you think of these people now? Why you stay
You
here?
said, are you racist? Am I racist?
Yeah.
No, I'm not a racist. Why do you ask that?
But since learning of Jesse's dark secret, Francis has led several protests against Peterson's homosexuality outside of the Bond studio. Jesse was confronted by him several times this year and refused to address any of the accusations of him preying on young men at Bond. Here's a video of Francis from March, facing off with him at what appears to be the post office across the street from the Bond studio.
Oh, that's nice. He wants me to tell them how I was sleeping with my brother's wife. That's fine. But Jesse, why will you not speak on your homosexual behaviors?
Francis confronted him again in the back of the building with Armand Martikian in February, capturing it all on video.
Jesse Peterson, I've known you for 25 years personally. Will you come? See, he's not coming over to me. Will you at least stand there where you feel safe and talk to me? Stand up on your porch with the door open and shout out to me. Why won't you talk to me? I've known you for 25 years. I've accused you of heinous things, and you will not talk to me. You coward!
Francis admits there were also a few clues that should have revealed Jesse was a homosexual, long before he ever found out.
He wanted to see if I was willing to have a homosexual relationship with him, of course, because that's what he was all about. He was about putting out feelers there and seeing who he could have sex with. And it didn't work with me because I had not been molested as a boy. And so eventually I told him, look, Jesse, I'm just an angry guy and I don't like these long hugs and all this stuff we're doing, you know, at night.
And did he stop?
Where he would come into my bed and just lay with me, you know.
He would come into your bed and just lay with you?
Yes. And at one time even like put his hand underneath my underwear to go toward my genitals, right? He never got there because he could see I wasn't getting excited. So he never got there. He just like at the edge, you know, because you got to invite the vampire in, is what they say in the vampire movies. And it's sort of true with even psychic vampires like Jesse. And so he would do those kind of tricks or put his hand around my back and up on my chest and be hugging and all that kind of stuff just to see if maybe I could get, and asking me if, how does it feel? And it feels good, right? And all that kind of stuff. And I would meekly answer, yeah, it feels good. But only because when you're under that kind of pressure, you just give the answer that he wants, but you're really like wanting to get the heck out of there. You're like ready to fly out of there like a bat out of hell.
Jesse appears to have used every dirty trick in the book to silence him, allegedly trying to have Francis arrested for violating an unserved restraining order.
I will go back to Phoenix and chill out with the relatives like I was doing before, and I'll be back on the 25th. Okay.
25th,
Fortunately for you, this is in a sealed envelope today. If it hadn't been,
yes. Yes. If it was already served, you had already seen this, you would be going to jail.
Church militant asked every single victim and witness if they thought Jesse would continue sexually preying on men, and they all had the same answer.
Well, yeah.
I would say yes.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind.
There's no doubt that there's current victims.
This is Underground Warrior TV. Make sure y'all mash up the like, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Peace and black power.